Welcome to the Ancient Alternative View. If you like the video, please like and subscribe. Thank you. Good day to all watching the Ancient Alternative View, the place where everyone's opinion matters. Remember, the truth has been hidden and covered for many years, so all theories to our ancient past are on the table. I look forward to hearing your views. Please like, comment and subscribe below. Thank you.
By and large, vast numbers of people are now recognizing that our contemporary science, however brilliant, is heartless and leads to nothing that's actually satisfying to the human soul. And it is Egypt, along with the other civilizations as well, the other ancient civilizations, but it's Egypt that we have access to. It's Egypt that, in going through their temples and tombs and studying their pyramids, we get a living sense of how human beings, civilized human beings, once behaved.
The word alchemy is thought to have been derived from the Arabian alchemia, referring to the preparation of elixir or the stone by the Egyptians. The Arabic chemia in turn comes from the Coptic chem, which referred to the fertile Black Nile Delta soil and also the dark mystery of the primordial first matter, the chem. This is the origin of our word chemistry. There were often many symbols for an element. For a time, the astronomical symbols of the planets were used to denote the element. However, as alchemists were persecuted, particularly in medieval times, secret symbols were invented. This led to a great deal of confusion, so you will find some overlaps of different symbols. The symbols were in common use through the 17th century and some are still in use today. Alchemy symbols for earth, wind, fire and water were fairly consistent, unlike those of the chemical elements. These symbols were used for elements into the 18th century when alchemy gave way to chemistry and scientists learnt more about the nature of matter. But in this case, have we looked into too much detail at what our ancients had already found with a more simple determination of elements? Earth was indicated by a downward pointing triangle with a horizontal bar running through it. The Greek philosopher Plato also associated the qualities of dry and cold to the earth symbol. The symbol could be used to stand for the colours green or brown as well. Alchemy symbol for air or wind is an upright triangle with a horizontal bar. Plato also connected the qualities of wet and hot to the air symbol. The symbol was associated with the colours blue or white or sometimes grey. The alchemy symbol for fire looks like a flame or campfire. It's a simple triangle. According to Plato, the symbol also stands for hot and dry. It's associated with the colours red or orange. Fire was considered male or masculine. The symbol for water is the opposite for the one of fire. It's an inverted triangle which also resembles a cup or a glass. Plato associated the symbol with the qualities wet and cold. The symbol was often drawn in a blue or could refer to that colour. Water was considered female or feminine. In addition to earth, air, fire and water, many cultures also had a fifth element. This varied from one place to another, so there was no standard symbol. The fifth element could have been ether, metal, wood or something maybe different. The squared circle, or squaring the circle, is an alchemical glyph or symbol for the creation of the philosopher's stone. The philosopher's stone was supposed to be able to transmute base metals into gold and perhaps be an elixir of life. The symbol for sulfur stood for the element but also something more. Sulfur together with mercury and salt made up the three primes or the tria prima of alchemy. Heraclius identified three primes, tria prima of alchemy. The primes are related to the law of the triangle, in which two components come together to produce a third. In modern chemistry, you can't combine the elements sulfur and mercury to produce the compound of table salt, yet alchemy recognised substances reacted to yield new products. Sulfur, the fluid connecting the high and the low. Sulfur was used to denote the expansive force, evaporation and dissolution. Mercury, the omnipresent spirit of life. Mercury was believed to transcend the liquid and solid states. The belief carried over into other areas as Mercury was thought to transcend life, death, heaven and earth. Salt, a base matter. Salt represented the contractive force, condensation and crystallization. Paraculus devised the 3 primes from the alchemist's sulfur-mercury ratio, which was the belief that each metal was made from a specific ratio of sulfur and mercury, and that a metal could be converted into any other metal by adding or removing a specific sulfur content. So if one believed this to be true, it makes sense that lead could be converted into gold if the correct protocol could be found for adjusting the amount of sulfur. Alchemists would work with the 3 primes using a process called solve a coagular, which translates to mean dissolving and coagulating. Breaking apart materials so they could recombine was considered a method of purification. In modern chemistry, a similar process is used to purify elements and compounds through crystallization. Matter is either melted or else dissolved and then allowed to recombine to yield a product of higher purity than the source material itself. Paracelsus also held the belief that all life consisted of 3 parts, which could be represented by these primes, either literally or figuratively. Modern alchemy. The threefold nature is discussed in both Eastern and Western religious traditions all throughout the ages. There were several possible element symbols for the metal copper. The alchemists associated copper with the planet Venus, so sometimes the symbol for woman was used to indicate this element. The crescent moon was a common alchemy symbol for the metal silver. Of course, it could also represent the actual moon, so context was very, very important. The alchemy symbol for the element gold is a stylized sun, usually involving a circle with rays. Gold was associated with physical, mental and spiritual perfection. The symbol can also stand for the sun. The alchemy symbol for tin is more ambiguous than sun, probably because tin is common silver-coloured metal. The symbol looks like the number 4, or sometimes a 7 or the letter Z, crossed with a horizontal line. The alchemy symbol for antimony is a circle with a cross above it. Another version seen in a text is of a square placed on the edge as a diamond. Antimony was sometimes symbolised by the wolf. The metal antimony represents man's free spirit or animal nature. A wide variety of seemingly unrelated symbols were used to represent the element arsenic. Several forms involved a cross and then 2 circles or an S shape. A stylized picture of a swan could be used to represent this element. Arsenic was a well-known poison during the times, so the swan symbol might not make much sense until you recall the element is a metalloid. Like other elements in the group, arsenic can transform from one physical appearance to another. These allotropes display different properties from each other. Cygnets turn into swans. Arsenic too transforms itself into something more beautiful. The alchemy symbol for platinum combines the crescent symbol of the moon with the circular symbol of the sun. This is because alchemists thought platinum was an amalgam of silver for the moon and gold for the sun. Alchemists were fascinated by phosphorus because it seemed capable of holding light. The white form of phosphorus oxides in the air appearing to glow green in the dark. Another interesting property of phosphorus was its ability to burn in the air. Although copper was commonly associated with the planet Venus, when Venus glowed brightly at dawn, it was called phosphorus. Lead was one of the 7 classical metals known to alchemists. Back then it was called plumbum, which is the origin of the element symbol Pb. The symbol for the element varied. The element was associated with the planet Saturn, so sometimes they shared the symbol. There were two common and related alchemy symbols used to represent the metal iron. One was stylized arrow drawn pointing up to the right. The other common symbol is the same symbol used to represent the planet Mars, or male. Not a lot is known about the use of bismuth in alchemy. Its symbol appears in text, typically a circle topped by a semicircle or as a figure 8 open at the top. The alchemy symbol for potassium typically features a rectangle or open box, goalpost shaped. Potassium is not found as a free element, so alchemists used it in the form of potash, which is potassium carbonate. There were several different symbols for the metal magnesium. The element is not found in pure or native form. Rather, the alchemists used it in the form of magnesia alba, which was magnesium carbonate. Philosophers' wool was zinc oxide, sometimes called nix alba or white snow. There were a few different alchemy symbols for the metal zinc. Some of them resemble the letter Z. The funny thing is, ladies and gentlemen, although alchemists in different parts of the world worked with many of the same elements, they didn't use the same symbols. For example, the Egyptian symbols were drawn as hieroglyphs. Scheele's alchemy symbols. An alchemist used his own code. This is pictures of the key that he used. So my question to you is, like now, when we're using chemistry, have we not lost through the ages specific secrets to alchemy that were used by our ancients to use stone manipulation and also build and create some of the most unbelievable structures on our planet? And I'm not just talking about the Egyptian pyramids. Have a look at what's inside, at the serapeum and the serapeum lids. There has to be an explanation to how these were built, because they're there, ladies and gentlemen. I propose to you that the secrets of alchemy in our ancient past could well be a representation of some of the secrets that have been lost to some of the ways that the engineering skill was used back in our ancient past. Surely, this has to be some kind of answer to where our secrets have gone. They're not lost. They are there, hidden in plain sight. It's just, are we looking in the right places, ladies and gentlemen of the ancient alternative view? Hello everyone. Well, today we've been looking at ancient alchemy, and why am I showing you all the different signs? Well, first of all, I want to bring you to, I think you'll all be aware of Imhotep, starred in the film The Mummy. Absolutely nothing like that in his life. One of only two people ever really to walk amongst the people as, normal like you and I, and make it to pharaoh status, god status. Imhotep was revered healer, architect, high priest, sage and advisor to King Joseph. Born a commoner, Imhotep became prominent in his time in many different fields. What we know of his life is fascinating. Scholars think he was born either in Anceint or a suburb of Memphis, or Gibli, a village of South Thebes in 27 BC. Now, what makes him so special is that he was actually an architect who built a step pyramid. Now, the step pyramid isn't quite in the same Masonic skill as the Grand Pyramid. However, nonetheless, Imhotep built this pyramid alongside his trusty Joseph, and I wondered where possibly he may get this sort of knowledge from. But let's have a little look. He was also a doctor as well, a physician. He was unique in his time. Imhotep's writings are the first to reject magic for dealing with illness, based on the premise that illness was caused by the environment rather than the gods. This is the Eber Papyrus. Now, the Eber Papyrus, it's given that name, ladies and gentlemen, because a gentleman called George Maurice Eber, a German Egyptologist and novelist, bought it in 1873. Now, what makes it spectacular, believe it or not, is it's 68 feet long. So for medicine skills, for all different bits and pieces. Look how long it is, 68 feet, and this gentleman actually owns it. So yeah, it's still circulating and is around. I'd love to actually be able to read exactly what's on there, but why am I showing you that, ladies and gentlemen? Well, there's a study been done. You guys, I'm going to leave a link to this study, and it's from a good friend of ours. If any of you watched my geopolymer episode, Jay Davidovitz, he basically says that the blocks at the Grand Pyramid could have been moulded. Well, using alchemy, of course, there could well be different versions of stone manipulation. And if we have a little look here, this is the famine stele. Now, it's got so many different rows of hieroglyphs that give alchemist properties. And this study here basically shows what the famine stele is. It will show you what the hieroglyphs mean. I highly recommend you go and have a look at this, because in a moment we're going to look further back from Imhotep to see where Imhotep got his alchemy secrets. It says here, Imhotep, the scribe and architect of Djoser's pyramid, who has been honoured and defined for having invented this building with stone. Well, yeah, he did build the step pyramid. I'm one that believes that the Great Pyramid was obviously already there, of course. So he was looking at the Great Pyramid and thinking, when he was building the step pyramid using alchemy properties, he did use stone manipulation techniques. These were passed down. It's actually written in the famine stele. And what I'd like you to do is to go down and have a little bit of a look where it actually shows you the hieroglyph and what the hieroglyph means in regards to the alchemy properties used. Now, I find that absolutely fascinating. And if you go down all the way to the bottom, it will show you in each column of the famine stele the hieroglyph and what it's translated to. I must say, ancient alternative view, that I can't translate hieroglyphs, and I'm always very dubious about hieroglyphic translations, if you want the truth, but I'm not professional in that capacity, so I'd like you to go and have a look. Now, in conclusion here, the new translation introduces the elements discussed above. So obviously go and have a look at that yourself. It says here there is a mountain massive in its eastern region of Elephantine containing all different ores, all the crushed, weathered stones, aggregates suitable for aggregation on the products, sought for building the temples of the gods in the north and the south. Very, very strange. Have a look at all of this on the conclusion, because what I want to show you now, ladies and gentlemen, is a passage. Now, I find this absolutely mind-blowing. Now, this is a god called Thoth. I'm sure you've all heard of Thoth. Now, I'll read this to you. It says, alchemy is the ancient art of transformation, the science of making something better. Whether it is changing lead into gold, perfecting our personality, or creating a spiritual presence within. The big difference between alchemists and modern scientists is that the alchemists believed true change could not take place unless it occurred on all three levels of reality: the physical, the mental, and the spiritual. The alchemists believed consciousness was a force of nature, and if you could purify and perfect your own consciousness, you could project that power into the world around you. In that way, they developed a spiritual technology, a science with soul. However, to hide the true nature of their work from dogmatic churchmen and other authorities, the alchemists spoke in terms of retorts, beakers and chemicals. But what they were really talking about were changes taking place in their own minds, bodies and souls. Now, what I find really, really crazy is it says here, alchemy dates back to a time when our two cultures of science and religion were part of one true philosophy, and the roots of alchemical theory can be traced back to a single document known throughout history as the Emerald Tablet. According to legend, the tablet was brought by mysterious visitors to Egypt over 12,000 years ago, a time the ancient texts refer to as Zet-Tepi, when godlike beings roamed the earth. Now, isn't it quite possible then that Thoth was an engineer, an alchemist from somewhere else that came across to Egypt and give the secrets of alchemy and engineering to already people that were living on the plateau, it's quite feasible that he then became a god to these people, because if you had stone manipulation techniques, then you too would be looked at as a god. If you could build different architectural magnificence, i.e. some of the things that we find in South America, then we would of course revere these people as gods. Now, one thing I want to bring your attention to, ladies and gentlemen, is the large quantities of liquid mercury found underneath different pyramids in the world. Now, surely this could mean that these pyramids were geoengineering plants, that there were different alchemy properties used all around our world in different places, because there's also been mercury found in the pyramids at Giza, pyramids in Mexico, these have got mercury. I don't know whether you're aware, but in China, emperors buried themselves with seas of mercury. These are things we've looked at today. They're not just fluke, ladies and gentlemen. Alchemy was a huge part of our ancient past. It really was. So I would like you to look at whether, is it possible that the secrets of alchemy were travelled from South America, maybe somewhere else, I'm open to that, and were they used throughout Egypt from the likes of Thoth coming from elsewhere and passing the secrets to the engineers and the builders in Egypt? Is this possible? I'd love to hear your thoughts on ancient alchemy, ancient alternative view. Thanks very much indeed for watching. Remember, there's always an ancient alternative view. Thank you for watching.